What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about some crypto. So the first thing I want to go through, of course, market update. I want to do these every day. I just want to talk about a few coins, some interesting ones, but generally a lot of sideways action today in the market. We're going to talk about pump and dumps. What are the pros? What are the cons? Should you get involved? Should you not? How they work. The BIP 91 has been activated. So what does that mean? It does mean something, especially when you hold your Bitcoins on an exchange, especially if you keep them on Bittrex. So we'll be talking about that. Rothschilds have bought some Bitcoin or have invested in some Bitcoin. Who are they? Why does that matter? And inflation in Venezuela, which might sound like a random topic to talk about, but it is related to Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies in general, and how they can potentially offer a better alternative to the nation's corrupt ecosystem. So having a look at the market, we can see, not a lot going on. Bitcoin is bouncing between 2750 and about 2850. It just keeps fluctuating between those two levels. I can imagine day traders are really liking it when that kind of stuff happens because there's small percentages to be made. If you have a look at Ethereum, that is one of the straightest lines you could possibly see in crypto. So usually at the end of one of these straight lines, there's going to be a breakout. Whether that breakout's going to be up or down, I don't know. Who knows? But very steady at the moment. NEM has been rising, and there's a reason for that. I was asked what my predictions for NEM was by Aaliyah. So that's a great question. Do I like NEM? The answer is yes, I do like it, and I think it's a good hold. If you have a look at the month, let's have a look at 3 month. The growth is looking really stable, really healthy. It started to tank toward the beginning of this month, but we know why. It was because Bitcoin was. Unfortunately, every currency is tied to Bitcoin. It'd be nice if there was some coins that survived a Bitcoin crash, aside from Tether, but it makes sense that everything goes down. If you have to buy everything with Bitcoin, then if Bitcoin goes down, it just makes sense that everything else would. But yeah, it's been getting back to where it was since before the dump. So it's looking to reach back its previous highs of about 20 cents. And it's a great technology. I personally don't hold any of it. I think I always ask myself the question, if I was going to invest in something and hold on to it long term, because there's a lot of good coins that are long term good investments, but would I have earned more money just simply holding Bitcoin in the interim? And the answer for a lot of other coins is yes, you would have made more if you just held Bitcoin. So I don't know, it's difficult for me to get into something like this. I like NEM, I like the technology behind it, but I think it's too soon for such things. If you have a look, we can have a look back in time to see what happened with new technologies, how long they took to reach mass adoption, just so that we can kind of get an idea for blockchain and how long that might take to reach future adoption. So there was a technology which powers stuff like Google and eBay. It's called TCP. TCP took about 30 years to reach full market adoption. We're in a fast-moving market. Let's say 5, 10 years, I think, is a good approximation for blockchain technology to start replacing usual business models of using databases. Blockchain is a great technology, but it's not a disruptive one. And what I mean by disruptive is that a disruptive technology is definitely something that comes in and can absolutely replace an existing system because it's so much cheaper and it's so much faster. Blockchain, for at least the most part, is not that. It can be for some, but for the most part, it's not. For the most part, it's kind of a developmental technology that has the potential for that, but doesn't quite yet. For example, Ethereum. As of today, it probably doesn't do very much other than fund ICOs, but the potential's there. Ethereum, we're looking at 5 to 10 years, 15 years before mass market adoption. Stuff like NEM, I think is just too early. I'm not saying it's a bad coin. I'm not saying it's not a good investment. I probably think it is, although this is not investment advice. I personally am not invested in it because I think it's too soon. I think it's too soon for a lot of things. I like to have coins that have uses today if possible. And believe it or not, Bitcoin does have uses today as a store of value. So let's look at something that does not have a use today. Unbreakable coin. So I think this one was a very recent hit for a pump and dump group. Just want to talk about pump and dumps, how they work. So whenever there's a pump and dump group that are inviting you in and they won't tell you the name of the coin that they're about to pump until the day, that's how you know it's a scam. So for example, you have a look here. Have a look at the 19th of July. What likely happened is the leaders of this pump and dump group, which is maybe just a few people, they said to themselves, okay, we're going to pump this coin, so let's start to buy it. So they buy it, and you have a look. That day, the price doubles. It goes from 5 cents to about 10 cents. They do that for quite a while. They buy the coin as much as they can, but they do it in a way that it doesn't bring too much attention to the coin. They don't want to bring the attention yet. They want to try and do this as stealthily as possible, even though in this scenario, they weren't very stealthy. But you can see up at about here, this is where they announce, okay, we're going to pump unbreakable coin. Go, buy, 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 buy. As though they just thought of it. But no, they were preparing for this, and they didn't tell you. So you have a look at what happens here. The buy orders come in, it floods up, and then they start unloading on them all of their coins. And you can see, even though they unloaded a ton here, like the resistance was still there. They managed to push through and go higher. And then they just got dumped on some more. So I think people who believe that you can get rich through pump and dump groups, you can, but only if you scam others. Mostly, you might be lucky. You might get in there at the right time and get out at the right time. But generally, if someone's going to get rich, or a few people are going to get rich, that's only because they took money from a lot of other people. So the majority of people lose out. So just be careful. I thought I'd share that with you just in case you weren't aware. But yeah, this was a textbook case of what they do. So according to xbt.eu, this website, which is so important for the price of Bitcoin, like before it was at 80%, that percentage, whatever it was displaying, directly affected the price of Bitcoin. It's crazy, but right now it's all locked in. BIP91 activated, non-SegWit signaling blocks will be rejected or they'll be orphaned. For the most part, that's good news. We're finally going to get some sort of scaling solution put in place. Whether or not that's the best scaling solution, it's not. It definitely isn't, but it's better than nothing, maybe. It depends on your point of view. But at least we have something. Now, because of this being activated, some exchanges have given some rules. Bittrex is a really, really popular exchange. They have put out an announcement that Bittrex will close deposits and withdrawals of Bitcoin 4 hours prior to BIP91 activation, anticipated to be today. With that, I don't imagine that's going to take too long. The wallet will remain closed until majority hash power chain is clearly established, and it pretty much is clearly established. But the point is that this is what this exchange is doing, a very popular exchange. There are other exchanges that are planning to suspend, I believe, perhaps at least on the day, at least August 1st, looking to suspend transactions. And by transactions, I mean deposits and withdrawals of Bitcoin. Those people that want to trade on that day are going to have to do so with another coin. And they most likely will use Litecoin, because Litecoin is very popular, a lot of volume, a lot faster than Bitcoin currently is. So we could see a spike in price on August 1st for Litecoin, because if people want to exchange currencies on the day that their Bitcoin is locked up, they most likely will use Litecoin. So I don't know if we could see a price increase there. Don't quote me on it, but I imagine we could. So we have news that the Rothschild family have invested in Bitcoin. In case you don't know, they were a family in the 1750s where a father told his 5 sons to go to 5 different countries in the world. I can't remember them all. England, France, Germany maybe, and 2 other countries, and they established banks. I think in the 19th century, they were the richest family in history. And there's lots of conspiracy theories. There always are going to be when you own that much money. The conspiracy theories say they basically own every bank in the world. For example, the Bank of England is definitely owned by the people. It's owned by the Queen. In fact, the argument that the theorists make is that if your country is in debt to another bank several times over the money that they actually have, or the capital that they actually have access to, then who really runs the banks? So Rothschilds, basically, they're important because they're very, very rich. They seem to have, in 1988, that the world will have a global currency in the year 2018. So that was a really good call. We don't currently have it yet, but less than 1% of people are using Bitcoin in the world. At least there is a global currency, whether or not it's got mass market adoption yet or not. I don't know how much they bought. It's a very interesting question. They probably bought a lot. But if a family like the Rothschilds, who basically own trillions, are investing in Bitcoin, they basically are saying they don't want to miss out. They kind of are kind of scared about Bitcoin. They probably don't want it to succeed, but in case it does, they need to get in on it. So what this means to me is that Bitcoin's here to stay. The big boys are in town and they see its worth. So in case you don't know, Venezuela is in a lot of trouble at the moment. A lot of corruption in the government. And just having a look at this screenshot, Venezuela's annual inflation soars to 756%. To put that in perspective, most countries should have inflation levels of around 2 to 3%, 3% being kind of high. That means that they're printing more and more money every day, meaning the money that's already there becomes less and less valuable. Now, what the Venezuelans will need to do to kind of avoid this trap by having their money become suddenly a lot less valuable overnight is they currently need to buy dollars with their money. And then when they need to go and buy some food, they need some bread, they need some milk, then they need to go to an exchange and they need to trade their dollars for Venezuelan money. Venezuelan money? What is Venezuelan money? The Venezuelan Bolivar? I might have pronounced that totally wrong, forgive me. But they would need to exchange dollars for that, and then they can go and buy stuff with it. But essentially, in order to avoid this inflation rate, they need to keep dollars instead. So this is an absolute growth opportunity for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is a lot more stable than this, even though it hasn't been late in recent weeks. But Bitcoin's a lot easier than going to an exchange every time. The only reason that I think most Venezuelans probably wouldn't be investing in Bitcoin at the moment is that you can't go and buy bread and milk with it. But the day that you can, the day that you have that option, why wouldn't a country where their money can half in value overnight put it in Bitcoin and buy stuff with Bitcoin? There's a huge growth opportunity for cryptocurrency in general. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.